Hello everybody, welcome back to Portugal as we get set in less than 5 minutes time for Free Practice 2 in this opening weekend of the 2022 DTM Championship. I'm Chris Hartley. I'll talk you through all the action during the course of this next 45 minutes or so, and of course over the course of the weekend with qualifying and the first race of this new season to come tomorrow. Here you can see we've got a pretty perfect day conditions-wise. There's a light breeze, but it's certainly less windy than it was yesterday, and the off day, the day off that the drivers and teams had, well, at least the drivers had, following 2 days of testing on Tuesday and Wednesday. So that wind has died down comparatively. It's a little bit warmer than it was for the first free practice session a few hours ago. Air temperature-wise, it's just about 22 degrees now, so a couple of degrees up on what it was this morning. But the key thing is that the track temperature is a lot higher now. It was 32 degrees, it's now over 40 degrees, the track temperature. There's the view across from turn 1 to the paddock. The commentary box is just in the end of that building there on the left at the end of the pit lane, closest to the pit lane entrance. This huge grandstand opposite, which hopefully will have lots of fans in it tomorrow for the first race day, which runs halfway along the opening straight. So we are in the southwest tip of Portugal, in the Algarve region, and around about 80 kilometres from Faro, which is the nearest international airport where I flew to. It's a lovely drive through the villages on the way here. Lots of orange sellers with really great looking juicy oranges all the way along the roadsides on the villages on the way to the circuit when I came here. Now, this is a great venue. It's one of those tracks, like many race tracks, where you're sort of driving through the hills and the sat-nav says you're only about a kilometre away from the track, and you think, well, there can't be a track here, there's nothing around here. And it suddenly appears as you drop downhill into this great venue, which was first opened back in 2008. Huge investment going into this race circuit, and all the facilities here as well. I mean, there's a technology park, a 5-star hotel, sports complex, apartments. There's a great big kart track over the back of the circuit as well, and the track itself, absolutely wonderful venue here in the Algarve, right about 17 kilometres from the city port of Portimao. There then the cars lined up. Keen to get going again is the former double champion Marco Whitman. I think was first out this morning as well. 45 minutes of free practice 2 coming up. And the next time they'll be on track after this is for qualifying tomorrow morning, which is going to be at 9:05 local time. In terms of the time here in Portugal, we're on GMT effectively, so the time in Portugal is exactly the same time as in the UK, but we're an hour behind Central Europe. Radio check there for Dev Gore, back for the second season of DTM.
About 22 laps, which will be more or less all the session.
There you go, long run plan then, 22 laps, most of the session for Dev Gore. So to see how the Michelin tyres the car and its new guys with this Evo kits on the Audi R8 for this season handles these hotter temperatures in what's going to be similar conditions tomorrow. I think the race tomorrow will be a couple of hours earlier than we're starting this session, but they want to test the long runs now.
Okay, mate. So we will also queue up in the fast lane, just to lose not that much time. So we will queue up in more or less 20 seconds.
Well, confirmation that Marco Whitman keen to get out there and not waste any time. Nico Muller was the driver that ended first free practice session, top of the times. He's been in the top 4 both days so far, Tuesday pre-season, Wednesday pre-season. He's been looking good, Nico. And Team Rosberg, who won the Extreme E Championship in its inaugural season last year, but had a disappointing DTM campaign. Well, when asked over the course of the pre-season test and media day at Hockenheim a few weeks ago what the team had changed over the winter, team principal Kimmo Limitainen said, how long have you got? Because they have made an awful lot of changes to that car. There's the 9-time World Rally champion Sebastian Loeb, incredibly won 9 consecutive World Rally titles, and even though he's not doing a full campaign this year, still at the age of 48 a rally winner in the opening round of this season. And he is into DTM for the first time, standing in for Nick Cassidy, and he will be aboard the number 37 Red Bull AlphaTauri AF Corsa Ferrari Ferrari coming into DTM for a second season, having won the team's title last year, Ron Rijkaard's team. But he says, Ron, this is revenge time. The team's title was nice, but having come so close to the driver's title with Liam Lawson, it was an extremely disappointing end to the year for them. They've got the talented youngster Felipe Fraga from Brazil and Nick Cassidy for most of the season. He misses a couple of rounds, including this one. But a very strong driver lineup for Ferrari, one of 6 different manufacturers that we have. So we had the Audi of Nico Müller fastest this morning, a best time of 1:40.793. That's quicker than all of the test times so far on Tuesday and Wednesday. The only driver to break the 1:41, and he was a quarter of a second quicker than Laurens Vanthoor, who was second quickest in the SSR Performance Porsche. Porsche running it with supports from the factory SSR Performance, so like they would with any other customer racing program. They will give supports from the factory Porsche, but they are very much keen to be successful in their first season in DTM. Laurens Vanthoor, with all of his experience in GT racing and international sports cars, showing that he's going to be a real competitor this weekend. 1:41.059. He was second quickest. We had the top 22 cars within a second of each other this morning. Mirko Bortolotti was third quickest for the Grasser Racing team in his Lamborghini, 1:41.154 seconds. Kelvin van der Linde was fourth for Abt Sportsline, 1:41.298. Dennis Olsen in another of the SSR Performance Porsches, 1:41.303 was fifth, and the best BMW was the Schubert Motorsport BMW of Philipp Eng, the new M4 for this season, 1:41.361 seconds. Ricardo Feller was 7th, Maro Engel 8th, Nicky Tim in 9th, and returning and 3-time champion René Arrast came home inside the top 10. The lap is divided, as is normally the case, into 3 different sectors. The first sector takes in the run through the opening sequence of corners at turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, and ends at the end of the straight that runs downhill into turn 5. The second sector takes in turns 5 to 10, and then the quick final sector, the run first down and then uphill and then downhill again through turns 11, 12, 13 and then 14 and 15, which are a long quick run back down towards the start-finish line. So the first sector time, Nico Müller was quickest in the first sector this morning, 31.5 seconds, and in the second sector, 31.9. The final sector is the slightly longer sector, 37.1 seconds. Nicky Tim was quickest through the final sector of the lap. In terms of how quick these cars are going through the speed traps, Sheldon van der Linde, now with Schubert Motorsport for this year, set the best top speed in that last free practice session, which was 280.5 kilometers per hour. Rapid stuff indeed. So this 45-minute session underway. There is Nicky Tim, who is well up in the top 10, now with T3 Motorsport, teammate this year to Esme Hawkey. And the tall Dane, the first son of a DTM champion to race in the DTM himself. A dream come true, he says. For 20 years he has been aiming to and wanting to race in DTM. Pretty emotional about the opportunity to come and race in the championship this season. You can see Nicky really pushing the limits of adhesion as he comes out of turn 15, fires it over the grid hatchins, and is quickest for now with a 1:42.270. But to put it into perspective, that sort of time, a 1:42.2, would not even have got him in the top 25 in the first free practice session. Not, as we always say, that times are everything in free practice. They're not trying to necessarily go for out-and-out lap times. They're trying to set the cars up over a longer run for the races. Thomas Priding has gone second quickest for Team Bernhard in the Porsche. Sole entrant for that team. He's just done a 1:42.018, and Mirko Bortolotti up there again in the top 3 as he was this morning, as you ride on board now with Marco Whitman, 2014 and 2016 champion. Marco Whitman was asked at Hockenheim during the pre-season test about private testing. So they were involved in the Hockenheim test, which was actually the first time Marco said he'd driven the car in the damp or the wet, but the feeling was good. But Schubert, for example, had done a lot more private testing than Marco's team, Volkenhorst Motorsport, and he was asked if he thought that would be a disadvantage, and he said, well, not really, because last year we only did the official ITR pre-season tests, and we were quick straight away during the opening few rounds of the season in terms of our race pace. So we've had a pretty relaxed winter, took part in the Daytona 24-hour race at the start of the year, but a winter of lots of skiing in the Alps and lots of downtime for Marco Whitman, who'll be looking to be replenished, full of energy, and trying to get that third championship title, one of 3 DTM champions in the field this year. Somebody who didn't see too much in the first free practice session and has gone quickly there to go third quickest is one of our 13 rookies that we've got in the field so far this season. Number 55, Nikhil Grenier from Canada. Canada having produced, of course, a DTM champion in recent years with Bruno Spengler. Not racing with DTM anymore, but double DTM champion himself. But he's with the Gruppe M team, who ran Daniel Hunkadea to some success last year, the Hong Kong-based team, and with Gruppe M racing with Grenier, hopefully, who's going well at the moment, 5th quickest. I'll be hoping to get some more success. Maro Engel, his very experienced teammate this year. Maro Engel, who's a former Nürburgring 24-hour race winner, Blancpain GT champion, Macau GT Cup winner on 2 occasions, beating René Rast one year back in 2015 in the Great Street Race, and also with a win in DTM, which came at Moscow in 2017, which is the last season he raced in the DTM. But Maro says that he's raced with Nikhil Grenier many times in the past. He's always done a very solid job, and he feels like he's going to be competitive in DTM this year. Nikhil Grenier, who is 29 years of age, comes from Stoneham et Tewkesbury, which is in Quebec in Canada, and has raced in GT World Challenge last year, Pro-Am champion in the Intercontinental GT Challenge, has raced also in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, a European champion in that category in 2017, even raced in Indy Lights for a time, and a couple of years, around about 10, 11 years ago. So another very experienced driver. There you can see the rise and fall of these very undulating circuits. Maro Engel goes second. That's a time of 1 minute 41.381 seconds. So 1:41.191 for Dennis Olsen, who's quickest in this SSR Performance Porsche. Maro Engel in the Mercedes has gone second, and Nicky Tim into 3rd place. 1:41.1 for Olsen, 1:41.3 for Engel, 1:41.4 for Nicky Tim. Bortolotti 4th, Whitman, who we've been seeing on the onboard, in 5th place, and Tommy Prining's dropped a little bit down to 6th place now. Most cars out on the track, Ricardo Feller and Esteban Moot, the only drivers currently in the pit lane, so 27 cars on track. And that was a point that René Rast made. He said, qualifying at Portimao, that could be interesting. 29 cars trying to find a clean lap. It's not going to be easy tomorrow morning, so it's going to be a real thrill to watch that first qualifying session of the year, as Dennis Olsen, absolute quickest through the final sector, 1 minute 41.167 seconds. Nicky Tim trying to find his way through, but this is not going to be a particularly quick lap from him. Quite a few drivers out there setting personal best sector times and lap times. Maximilian Gotz, who didn't see that much of in the first 3 practice sessions, just got himself into the top 10. The reigning champion is only 25th quickest this morning. Not that that's necessarily something to worry about, because we don't know what he was doing, the team was doing with the setup, what everybody else was doing out there, how much fuel they had, what tyres they were using. We do know, as we talked about in the first free practice session, if you were watching, that there is an extra set of new slick tyres for each race weekend, 5 for the first weekend, 2 of which have to be used in the free practice sessions, and it'll be 4 for each subsequent weekend, with one of those sets having to be used in free practice as well. So the reigning champion, Maximilian Gotz, who has switched teams this year, 1:41.84 now with Team Winward, teammates with Lucas Sauer, who said he's enjoyed working with Maximilian so far. You've got David Schumacher in the team as well, so it's an increased entry for Winward. Lucas Sauer said, we all get on well, it's good fun amongst the drivers, but we all want the fastest car. There's the view to turn 5, downhill into that hairpin, uphill on the way out of it. That, I think, is going to be one of the key overtaking opportunities when we get to the races tomorrow and on Sunday. Also worth noting, we talked about various changes to the regulations this year, including no team orders, including the changes to the tyres, and the fact that the pit window now has opened up. It's between 10 and 40 minutes. That's the pit window, so you can't pit right at the start of the race or right at the end of the race, as was the case last year when the pit window was really free for the drivers to choose, the teams to choose, but they're only really wherever two strategies either come in really early or come in really late. But there's now a set window of half an hour between minutes 10 and 40 in the race, which will really open up, I think, different strategies that will get in the race. Maro Engel, very good first sector, 31.71 seconds. Couple of tenths down, though, on the best second sector time. But Maro Engel was on for a pretty good lap at the start of it, ends in the pit lane in the end. But so that means you now got the top 6 into the pits. Olsen, Engel, Team, Bortolotti, Whitman and Preining are all in the pits at the moment. So Lucas Stoltz is the highest placed driver currently on track. He's 7th. He was 7th because Clement Schmidt has just taken his place in one of the GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghinis. Lamborghini with an increased presence this year. Championship point system exactly the same as it was last year in terms of qualifying. 3 points for qualifying on pole tomorrow morning, 2 for second and 1 for third. Same points for the top 10, 25 for a win. FIA point system, so 18 for second, 15 for third, same as Formula 1, down to a point for 10th. However, new for this year is a bonus point for the fastest lap in each race. So 1 extra point for the fastest lap, as long as that driver finishes in the top 10. And that's to stop teams and drivers that have had a problem in the race coming back out several laps down or at the back of the fields and just gunning for new tyres and that bonus point for fastest lap. You have to be in the top 10 for it to count. So if somebody gets the fastest lap and they finish 11th or lower, it'll then go down to the that they won't get the bonus point. That will go down to the 0 points for them. There's Philip Eng running through shot, top BMW in the first free practice session this morning. Lucas Auer, who's in 4th place, has just gone back out on track. We've got 2 drivers, Maro Engel and Marco Whitman, have both set exactly the same first sector time. So they both share the fastest first sector time so far in this session, with a time of 31.713 seconds. And that's still a couple of tenths slower than the fastest first sector time from this morning, set by Nico Muller, who ended the session quickest. So on track at the moment, we've got Lucas Auer, whose last lap was a 141.5. Nico Muller, 141.7. And Philip Eng, 141.9. The 3 quickest drivers out there at the moment. Well, that was a slow lap for Philip. The one before it was pretty good. It's relatively quiet on track, with around about half of the 29 cars currently in the pit lane, with us coming up to the 1/3 distance in this free practice session. When asked how he would like this season to go, Lucas Auer said, well, I would love this season to start how we ended last season, because he, as I referred to earlier, was extremely competitive in the second half of the 2021 campaign. Ended up finishing 5th in the championship, but in the last 3 weekends at Assen, Hockenheim and the Norris Ring, he got 2 wins and a second. He was a pretty consistent driver last year, Lucas Auer. He only had 1 non-finish, only had 3 races where he didn't finish in the points. So 2 wins, 4 podiums, 5th in the championship, but he was one of the on-form drivers in the back end of last season. So we'll certainly hope to continue that great momentum, the Austrian driver. Coming downhill, you can see lots of the braking zones. That is the run from 11 down into turn 12. Lots of the braking zones. You have got that all the weight on the front of the car, the back end very light, and if you're turning in at that point, it's very easy for the back end to snap away.
Okay, Lucky, the lap times are looking very good, very good.
Happy with Lucas Auer's time back at the team. He's just done a 1:41.7. And for a longer run, 1:42.1 for David Schumacher. He's tested here but never raced here, David Schumacher. He said it's not his favourite circuit though. He's really looking forward to racing at the Nürburgring, though he'd love to have raced on the full GP version of the circuit this year. And he's, as probably most of the drivers are, really looking forward to the trip to Spa in the middle of the season. Spa back on the calendar for this year in DTM. We'll start the season here tomorrow. The first race of what's going to be a 16-round campaign. 8 weekends we've got. We go to the Lausitz Ring next up on the 20th, 21st and 22nd of May. And then we go to Imola, the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, for the 3rd weekend of the season from the 17th to the 19th of June. The Norris Ring at the start of July.
Track limit turn 1.
And then Nürburgring, Spa, Red Bull Ring and Hockenheim. Careful of the track limits at turn 1 there, which has caught a couple of drivers out so far. Running wide there, running behind the limits of the track, which is marked by the white lines on the edge of the circuit or the curbs. So just be a little bit careful there. And also at turn 4, there has been a spot by the officials that David Schumacher is exceeding the track limits there. So his last lap time deleted. But do that in qualifying and it can have a big effect. Do it in the race too often and you can receive time penalties. Personal best first sector for Schumacher, say 10th down on the best first sector. Second sector 32.6 is about half a second down. So most of the time lost in the middle of the lap there for David Schumacher, but the start and the end of the lap, both personal bests. And currently with only a few cars on track, we've got Lucas Auer, who's crept up to 2nd quickest now, 1:41.2. He's the quickest driver on track. And then Nico Müller, a very low 1:42 last time round, 1:42.0 is the 2nd quickest driver on track, followed by Clement Schmidt at 1:42.241 seconds. But we've only got half a dozen cars on the track. Everybody else at the moment in the pit lane. Wind speed fairly gentle, 5.3 kilometres an hour. And there you can see the many undulations of the circuit as we follow a lap with Lucas Auer, quickest driver out there at the moment, making his way down out of turn 11, down towards the left at turn 12. Steep uphill climb into turn 13, the left-hander. And then a downhill drop, now down towards the penultimate corner at turn 14. Continues to drop and fall away out of the corner to a point, but then becomes a much steeper drop as you run down towards the right-hander, the quick turn 15. The track really does fall away quite a little bit more there. So as it stands, Porsche from Mercedes, from Lamborghini, and Lamborghini are the top 5. Porsche in 6th. They have to go back to 7th, Marco Whitman, to find a BMW. And although Nico Müller has been up there in all sessions so far in terms of fast times, he is currently only in 10th place, but perhaps working on a longer run setup and trying some different things out. They've had lots of testing here on Tuesday and Wednesday, plus the free practice session this morning, so an opportunity to try some different things out, see if it gets better or worse. Riding on board then with 24-time DTM race winner, 3-time champion René Rast, who comes back after a year away from the DTM, competing in Formula E last season. And there he is. He says he feels like a rookie coming in this season with all the new drivers, all the new teams, the new cars. But make no bones about it, he is going to be a factor this year. He always is, the 35-year-old from Minden. Lives in Austria these days. Beat Nico Müller to the DTM Championship title in 2020 and 2019. Won it in his first season back in 2017, all with Team Rosberg. And those two have switched around these days, because last year to Team Rosberg went Nico Müller, who had always been his rival for AB Sportsline, and René now comes back to DTM and he's with AB Sportsline, so switched around. He's also sort of switched roles with Mike Rockenfeller, the 2013 champion, who stepped away after many years with Audi last year, stepped away from the DTM, and his place at Sportsline has been taken by René Rast, and René Rast's place in the commentary box at DTM for German television has been taken by Mike Rockenfeller, so a complete swap. And René finding lots of clear track. Sheldon van der Linde on a really good lap at the moment. Absolute best in Sector 1, absolute best in Sector 2. So he's down in 12th place at the moment, but Sheldon van der Linde could be about to go to the top of the times if he can keep the momentum going. Kelvin van der Linde not showing that quickly at the moment, and Sheldon van der Linde does indeed go quickest of all, 1 minute 40.980. There he is coming through shot, the red and yellow Schubert Motorsport BMW. The best time of the session so far. He's only the second driver to get into the 1 minute 40s. Nico Muller did it this morning with a 1:40.7. Sheldon's just done it with a 1 minute 40.980. But what about Philipp Eng? He's going for a quick lap here, a qualifying type run. Absolute best in the middle sector, personal best in the first sector. And Philipp Eng goes third with that, 1 minute 41.269. So Sheldon van der Linde now top. BMWs and Schubert Motorsport are coming. They've done lots of pre-season testing. Very experienced team, but not in DTM. But they've now got their drivers first and third in the session, with Dennis Olsen's Porsche sandwiched in between them second. Had a really difficult pre-season, or build-up at least, to the pre-season test at Hockenheim last month, because there was a huge crash for their transporter, and it was pretty much a write-off. Happily, the truck driver, the personnel, all absolutely fine, and the race cars were all fine as well. The truck, I'm told, was a real mess, and so they didn't get to the circuit until midnight. The guys were working to get the BMWs ready for the test until 4 o'clock in the morning, and they still made that first morning test session, which was just shows what an incredible job some of these teams do, all of these teams do. The commitment that they show. It's a team sport, not just an individual sport, this. It's due to that sort of professionalism and expertise that the drivers are able to compete. So, difficult start for them. We go on board, we've seen Philipp Eng, we're on board now with Bortolotti, who's done a personal best through the first sector. And he's quicker than Philipp Eng through the middle sector by 0.4 of a second. So those two running pretty much together out on track. Mario Zug has just set a decent first sector time of 31.6 as well. Sheldon van der Linde's time of 1 minute 40.8. I don't think he's going to come under threat just yet in this second free practice session, but it's a couple of quick times to be had out there. Ricardo Fella looks like he's on a pretty solid lap as well. So no change inside the top three. Personal best lap for Maximilian Goetz last time out with a 1:41.7, but he's still back in 13th place. Right, what about Zug then? Just about to come through the final few turns. His lap is looking pretty handy. It's going to be a 1:41. Yeah, 1:41.51. So the Attempto Racing youngster, the teenager, goes second quickest with a 1:41.051. That is impressive. A driver that was top of the times at Hockenheim. Only 19, from Pfaffenhofen in Bavaria, signed the contract to join the DTM on his 19th birthday. But he's been GT racing for a few years. He started GT racing when he was just 16 and actually won his first ever GT4 race. 8th in the GT3 Pro class in the Italian Championship last year in a BMW M6. 5th in the GT3 class the year before that, 2020, in the same Italian GT Championship. He's raced in the GT4 European Series. He was the runner-up in that in 2019. Runner-up in the ADAC GT4 Championships the same year as well. Only having come out of karting for the first time in that 2019 season. So a real talent, Marius Zug. Second quickest in the number 66 Attempto Racing Audi. But Bortolotti hooks together a nice lap, 1 minute 41.3. Personal bests in all three sectors, shown by the green sector times. If it's a green sector time, it's a personal best, or a green lap, personal best. If it goes purple, that means it's best of all. And Zug's going even quicker on this, 1:32.67 through the second sector. Although that's a little bit off it, because 31.5 set by Sheldon van der Linde is now the absolute best. First sector, 32.1 through the middle sector, as we get a replay of just tail happy there. The number 7 Audi, Sportsline Audi of Riccardo Fella. Another of our rookies this season that brings with him a huge wealth of experience. So more and more green lap times coming up on the screen now, personal bests. There's still plenty of speed out there on the track, that's for sure. There's Riccardo Fella, who was top of the times earlier in the week. He's only 24th at the moment, just behind Kelvin van der Linde in 23rd. Both done no 142s, as the best lap is a 140.8. You ride on board with Maximilian Gotz through the opening corners of the lap. Coming out of turn 3, the track will really rise steeply up now through turn 4, up to 130 kilometers an hour over the crest, but it's still slightly uphill here. You see the 200-meter board on the left, that's when it starts to go downhill. Get to 220 kilometers now. It's quite steep downhill, tricky under braking, hit the apex, and straight away coming out of the corner, the track starts to rise up, heading towards the left-hander at turn 6, uphill until you get to the 50-meter to go board, then it's downhill very slightly on the way into the braking zone, and then you switch to Sebastian Loeb wrestling the car around. Team principal today, of course, Ron Rijkaard, said that his feedback has been amazing, even though it's a different feeling to driving his rally car. He said he's such a pro, Sebastian Loeb, as you'd expect, and he doesn't take half a day to acclimatise to a car. He gets in it, he drives it, and straight away he's looking to work on the setup of the car. So Sebastian Loeb pushing on this lap, personal best in the first 2 sectors. Loses 2/10 to the overall fastest first sector time. And only a 10th in the middle sector though, so it's going to be a pretty good lap this, somewhere in the 141s I would say. And let's see where this sets him up, as long as he hacks it together in the final sector. Car just skips over the circuit there, gets a little bit airborne, out of turn 15, down and then up over the start-finish line. It's going to be a 141. It is, 1 minute 41.32. Good lap from Sebastian Loeb then. The Frenchman into 7th place, top Ferrari at the moment, 141.321 seconds. Attacking turn 1, showing no signs of relenting his pace here. Through turn 2, heading into turn 3, which is almost a hairpin. It's more than a 90-degree right-hander, but it's quite a full hairpin turn. And that's the view as they come out of turn 3, uphill, over the crest at turn 4, and then downhill into turn 5. And there is our first sighting of Esme Hawkey, who missed the Hockenheim test a few weeks ago, but has been here working hard. She works really hard, as do all the drivers on her fitness training, and she is back and ready for another season in black livery on the car, but same team for her, T3 Motorsport. Personal best in the first sector. She's about 4/10 down. She's 3/10 down in the first sector and losing about 4/10 to the best time we've seen so far in the middle sector. But this could well be her best lap of the session so far. Previous best is a 141.7. Going to be close. No, loses a bit too much time in the last sector, so 142.7 in the end. Esme in the 26 car heading downhill, trying to keep an eye on Marius Sugg, who's just in front of other German driver in the Attempto Audi, which is still 3rd quickest. The top 2, Sheldon van der Linde and Philipp Eng, are both in the pits. The 2 Schubert Motorsport BMW drivers now top of the times, the pair of them. Attempto Racing's Marius Sugg in the Audi 3rd, Dennis Olsen's SSR Performance Porsche in 4th, Lucas Auer top Mercedes in 5th, top Lamborghini is Bortolotti in 6th. Loeb we saw taking the number 37 AlphaTauri AF Corsa Ferrari to 7th, so he's the quickest Ferrari so far in this session. And there he is, back on track, enjoying himself. Didn't see mega quick times from him in the first free practice session, but again, don't know what they were working on. He's obviously got good pace. It was a decent lap that from Sebastian a few laps ago, that 141.3. And it wasn't a one-off, because that last lap was a 141.6. Now, Marius Sugg has just set the absolute best second sector time of the session, 32.041. He was 3/10 or so down in the first sector, but he's a 10th up in the middle sector. So it's going to be close to his best lap time. It's going to be a low 1 minute 41. If he really nails the final sector, he might just creep into the 1 minute 40s. He's only 19 thousandths of a second slower than Philipp Eng with their best respective lap times, as we continue to watch Sebastian Loeb's progress. So fastest of all in sector 1 and sector 3, Sheldon van der Linde. Quickest now in sector 2 is Marius Sugg, and just lost another 4 tenths in the last sector, so it was a 1:41.4 in the end, 4 tenths down on his best. On board with the reigning champion, Maximilian Gotz, very popular winner of the 2021 championship title. It's a great guy, very competitive racer. It's great to see him have a real chance in DTM after his initial stint in DTM. Not really competitive, not really got had the equipment when he came in to compete. So when he came into DTM in 2015, he only finished 22nd that year with Muka Motorsport, switched to HW, had a year off, then HWA Mercedes, and only 20th place in the championship in 2017. Never been on the podium before last year. His best would have been a 4th place finish at Moscow, but he got podium, he got the wins, including, of course, that pair of wins at the Norris Ring to seal the championship title. Ahead of the very unfortunate Liam Lawson. In the end, 3 points was the difference in the championship. Kevin van der Linde in 3rd place, Marco Whitman 4th, as Nicky Tim sets the absolute best second sector time. He's still 3 tenths down on Sheldon van der Linde's best first sector time. No doubt this is going to be a personal best lap for Nicky. He's 10th at the moment. I don't think he's going to challenge for the fastest time of the session, but it will be thereabouts. Over the line he comes. Yeah, not too bad. 7th place for Nicky Tim. So the T3 Motorsport Lamborghini going well. 1:41.316. Got 3 drivers, Bortolotti, Tim and Loeb, all in the 1:41.3s, with 12 3/4 minutes to go in the session. The queue forming up. There is Nicky Tim in the, we can't miss it, can you, the luminous yellow and blue T3 Motorsport machine. And he looks to be on the pace this weekend. We won't really know until we get to qualifying. One of the other changes to tell you about is in terms of the success ballast this year, which has changed slightly for the season in DTM. So still success ballast for the top 3 going into the next race. It's 25 kilograms still if you win a race that you have to carry into the next round. 15 kilograms now for second. It was 18, so that's been reduced. And it's only 5 kilograms if you finish 3rd. So the amount of success ballast for a winner has stayed the same at 25 kilograms, but you've got 3 kilograms less now if you're second compared to last year. 10 kilograms less success ballast if you finish 3rd, 5 rather than 15 kilograms. So another change that's been brought in consultation with the teams and the drivers for this year, which I'm sure we'll talk about across the course of the weekends. And haven't yet mentioned the big changes to the pit stops themselves. We've talked about the pit window. We'll come to that in a moment, because this was getting a little bit leery between the two, but actually waved through in the end was Nicky Tim, but he had to go very wide coming out of the exit of turn 15. Put off his line slightly there. Blue flags waving as he's coming up to, is that Dev Gore now? He's coming up to, yeah, in the Team Rosberg Audi. So he's finding a bit of traffic out there currently. I've had lap time deleted for Maro Engel and the Gruppa M Racing Mercedes for turn 1. And with a warning flag now has come out for Sebastian Loeb. A warning flag, so he's been kept a sharp eye upon. Also losing a lap time for track limits has been Nikhil Grenier recently. And we've also had a lap time deleted for Rolf Inischen, number 19, number 22, which is Lucas Auer, and number 92, which is Lawrence Van Toor. So they're all finding and maybe overstepping the limits of adhesion. But going back to the mandatory pit stops, talked about the window having changed. But the pit stops themselves, we've now got a maximum of 6 team members that can work on a car this year. Only 4 of them can change the wheels. There's a fifth person whose only function is as an air lance controller, and a sixth person who is the lollipop operator. There's only 4 of them changing tyres, and given the different systems that are on the cars, and perhaps some teams and some cars said to have an advantage in the pit stops last year, the new rule for this year is that the rear wheels have to be changed first. You can't touch the front wheels until the rear wheels are complete. So fewer pit crew, and you've got that system now of having to change the rear wheels first. Marius Zug went into the pits at the end of his most recent lap, but had set a really quick second sector time. Pretty good first sector before he came in, but he binned off the lap in the end. So you got Sheldon van der Linde and Philipp Eng still the top 2. They're both on track, but Zug 3rd, Olsen 4th, Team 5th, and Auer 6th. They're all in the pits currently. The rest of the top 10, Auer, Bortolotti, Loeb, Preining and Engel, are all back on track now. So about a third of the cars in the pit, some cars on out laps, and starting to get a bit busier, as you'd expect, towards the end of this last run on the circuit now before they get into qualifying tomorrow morning. And Tommy Preining is going for a qualifying tight run by the looks of things. A personal best in sector 1, 31.6. Absolute best in sector 2, 32.2. The last sector in terms of time is the longest sector at around about 37 seconds. So you've really got to get that right to get the whole lap in. But Tommy Preining, who's currently 9th quickest, looking like he might just shoot up the order a bit, the young Austrian, former Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland champion, as he now attacks turn 15, uses all the track and then some, goes over the rise, goes over the line, sets a time of 1 minute 40.81 seconds to go second quickest for Team Bernhard. So 1:40.8, that gets him to within 11 thousandths of a second of Sheldon van der Linde's best time. So we now have BMW at the top of the times, Porsche second, BMW third, Audi fourth, Ferrari fifth. Felipe Fraga has just gone very quick, a 1:41.103. There he is now. So it's a good mix up there. Dennis Olsen is in the pits. He's 6th in the Porsche. Nicky Tim's Lamborghini is 7th in the pits. Lucas Auer, top Mercedes, in the pits at the moment. He's in 8th place, with Bortolotti and Loeb rounding out the top 10. Lap time deleted for car 25 most recently, which is Philipp Eng for track limits. And again, it's at turn 1. Turn 1 and turn 4 seem to be most of the offences. Turn 4 is at the end of that steep uphill where you whip out of turn 3 and whip left over the crest onto that back straight, which runs on the other side of the paddock here, parallel to the start-finish straight. Maximilian Buch, personal best, 31.7 seconds through the first sector, which is competitive. 32.29 through the middle sector is also pretty decent. So Maximilian Buch back with Mika Motorsport this year, looking like he is going to get himself into the top 10. He's down in 20th at the moment. Marco Whitman going for it. He's quicker, a 10th up on Max Buch through the first sector. Roger Miney's done a personal best, having, I think, concentrated on long run pace for the session so far. So seeing 1 and 2 drivers really starting to push it now at the end of the session, trying to get quick lap times in. All of the top 5 are back on track now. Zug has just come back out. What does Marco... Well, Maximilian Buch does get into the top 10, and it's 6th, 1:41.12. So that's a very good effort for the young German driver who impressed last year in his first season of the DTM. 29-year-old former Blancpain Series GT champion, former 24-hour race winner at Spa, and former GT3 European champion. Marco Whitman, 11th quickest at the moment, goes through 1:41.47. David Schumacher looking to get a personal best lap here. He's currently down in 22nd place, 1:41.9. If he finds half a second, he'll get himself into the top 10. He might not quite do that. No, he doesn't lose his time again at the end of the lap. 1:42.4. So stays back in 22nd position. Marco Whitman and Maximilian Buch, the only drivers out there that set personal best lap times in the end in that pretty frantic couple of minutes. There's Schumacher coming up the hill. out through turn 14. That's turn 14. That's where a lot of them have been getting done for track limits, and you can see why. You can see the dark rubber marks, and quite a few of them have run wide there. You can go on the curbs with 2 wheels, but you can't go over the curbs with all 4 wheels. And now, absolute best second sector time for Maximilian Goetz. He's 3/10 down in the first sector is his problem in terms of trying to get the absolute best lap time. And he's got one of the SSR Performance Porsches just ahead of him, which might give him a little bit of a tow over the line. Doesn't improve his lap time, but a 1:41.5 is still pretty handy. But 1:41.1 was his best. It's Marco Whitman who set his best lap time last time around of the session. Still got time for a few more with 4 minutes left on the clock. And here he goes on the attack. Marco Whitman had that extremely solid start to the season last year. For a long time, he was the only driver that had managed to get into the points in every single race of the season. In fact, Monza, Lausitzring, Zolder, Nürburgring, Red Bull Ring and Assen, he was in the points in every single race, 12 out of 12. But then disaster really at Hockenheim and the Norris Ring. On board with René Rast. Marco Whitman has improved a little bit up to 8th place, 1:41.196. What about René Rast down in 25th position at the moment, but maybe going for a quality type run now, setting up for tomorrow. Track temperatures, actually no, he won't, goes into the pits. Track temperature actually drops a little bit since the start of the session. It is under 40 degrees now, at 39.8.
Because then we wait for Kelvin and we will do 1 double pit stop as a practice.
And there you go, confirmation. It's not just about setting up the cars and the drivers in free practice, it's about an opportunity for the teams to practice their pit stops as well. Incidentally, the new rule to say you can do your mandatory stop under the safety car or full course yellow, you can only bring in 1 of your cars if you're a multi-car team per lap, so you can't double pit stop them under a safety car or full course yellow. Something worth remembering if a safety car should appear, and that scenario should happen. As we go on board now, Sebastian Loeb, who really thumped the curbs up the hill coming out of turn 3 into turn 4, down to turn 5 now. The back of the car dances around the blue and white number 37 Ferrari. That's him going uphill now, coming out of turn 5. Car ahead when the Audi stays out of the way. Over the crest he goes, and down into turn 7 it will be for Sebastian Loeb, who was in the top 7 for a while. He's now down to 12th place. Niki team a couple of tenths down on the absolute best first sector that we've seen today, but it's a decent effort, 31.77 seconds. And you can see he's pushing on hard now, 9th quickest at the moment. Sheldon van der Linde is back out there. Tommy Preining 2nd quickest and Philip Eng 3rd quickest are in the pits. So not now going to set another quick lap time. 32.3, about 3/10 down in the middle sector. So this lap looks like being about 4 or 5/10 of a second down currently. Should be about where he was. 1:41.2 is his best so far. Not sure he's necessarily going to improve upon that. So the car just skips as it goes light there. Uses all the curb and then some coming out of the final turn. Over the line he goes. 1:41.46 seconds. So that's 2/10 away from his best lap so far, but he gets another crack at this as we go into the final minute of the session. I've got quite a few of the top 10 now that have gone into the pits. Of the top 10 we've still got out there, Sheldon van der Linde, who's quickest of all. Somebody else that suffered a really challenging 2021 campaign last year, but the 22-year-old from Johannesburg will be back, I'm sure. Loads of bad luck last year as well, didn't he? Damage to the car, reliability issues, punctures, you name it, it happened to him. But he is one of the race winners out there on track. It's the one DTM win to his name at the moment. That came at Assen in 2020. So there is Sheldon van der Linde. Looks like he's going to end the session quickest. 1:40.807 for him. Tommy Preining 1:40.818. It's going to be second quickest in this free practice. Neither of them quite as quick as Nico Muller's free practice 1 time, which is a 1:40.7, but still very, very good lap times. The flag is now out. Tommy Preining the first to take it. Esteban Moot, now teammates to Marco Whitman, and now BMW has taken the flag in 14th place. Lots to learn for him. One of the youngest drivers still in the field, but with Marco Whitman, he can use all of that experience to help his knowledge of the car and help build up his season as it goes on. Nobody out there on an absolute flying lap at the end of the session, so it looks like it's going to stay with Sheldon van der Linde, Thomas Preining and Philip Eng as the top 3 in the session. The qualifying session local time starts at 9:05 tomorrow morning, which is the same as UK time and is an hour behind Central European time. And we'll be on air from 9 o'clock local time tomorrow morning to talk you through that qualifying for race 1, round 1 of 16 in the 2022 campaign. The race gets underway at the green flag lap at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon local time. And then the same timings for day 2. What promises to be a fascinating weekend in DTM 2022. So lots and lots of track limits warnings, lap times deleted. We've got 1 under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, which is Ricardo Feller. But a pretty busy session, that. And Sebastian Loeb looking pretty competitive, so we'll see how he gets on in his first DTM race tomorrow. It's going to be a super competitive field. But Sheldon van der Linde will end the day top of the times, 1:40.807 seconds in that second free practice session. Tommy Preining in second. Philip Eng comes home third ahead of Marius Zug. Felipe Fraga, who ended up top Ferrari in 5th. Maximilian Goetz with a good late lap to come home in 6th. Dennis Olsen, Marco Whitman, Niki Thiem and Lucas Auer rounding out the top 10, just 0.4 of a second between them. And again, we had 0.9 of a second covering most of the top 20. Bortolotti, Loeb, 11th and 12th. Engel, Moot, Stolz, Schmidt, Muller, Gotz, Hawkey and Grenier rounding out the top 20. All 29 cars took part in the session. And that completes the first day of action here at Portimao. We look forward to day 2, to qualifying and to the first round of DTM 2022. What's going to be a thrilling season. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the 2 free practice sessions here in Portugal. We look forward to your company again tomorrow morning for qualifying and, of course, for the big one, the race coming up tomorrow afternoon. From me, Chris Hartley and the team, thanks for watching. We'll speak to you again tomorrow. Bye for now.